Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video from Radio 1.
Hashtag Tech for Change. How do we make our lives and things we use on a daily basis a little bit more sustainable? Now, Tech for Change is meant to be that place where we discuss with people in the technology space and companies in the technology space that are using technology for some form of social good. With me this morning on the show, I'll introduce you to him in just a bit, but I want you to kind of think about this situation, right? You might be willing to cut down on plastic bags. You might be wanting to adopt a more sustainable lifestyle, but there is a major hindrance to these kind of ideals that we kind of want to strive towards. Consider this, right? For example, what is one amongst the first things that you hold in the morning? Your smartphone, right? Maybe you grab a toothpaste tube. Now, for most people, a toothpaste tube, for example, is made from multi-layered plastic, right? Nearly 45% of the total plastic waste generated comes from packaging materials like that. Now, this includes anything right from biscuit to chocolate wrappers to Tetra Packs to alloy on any food packet. They're all made of multi-layered plastic. So what can we do to help this massive waste that is generated and used on a daily basis? Now, I came across a very, very cool tech startup. Ricron Panels is what they're called. They are helping address that problem by recycling MLP, which is multi-layered plastic, and all the waste that comes from it into things like construction boards, right? And they transform that into, well, classroom benches, toilets, and other construction materials. Joining me on the other side is the founder. Welcome to the show. Rahul Chaudhary is with me. He is the founder of a beautiful company called Ricron Panels, and it's all about taking the things that we use on a daily basis, converting that MLP, that multi-layered plastic, into things that you can actually use. Now, firstly, Rahul, what a lovely idea. It's good to have you on the show, man. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Kay. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Honestly, where do these kind of ideas come from, man? Like when I see people doing such amazing things and you chose to address the venture, you wanted to address this environmental issue. Tell me how this idea to deal with multi-layered plastic really came about.
So Kay, it all started with the idea of working with scraps, and the fundamental, solution we're looking for is to generate more value. So the only way to have a more sustainable way of recycling is, if you convert it into something valuable enough. So that valuable enough is what we were looking for. And we found that, the most common problem today is with packaging plastics, which cannot be recycled. So we wanted to bring that problem, onto a solution wherein we could address, housing needs, building material products.
Yeah, because that's the need of the hour in India as well. There are all these needs that kind of compound almost, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. So if you look at packaging plastic, that's, one of the most rapidly consuming, plastic types. It is I don't think there's anyone who does not use, these kind of, plastics, be it pharmaceuticals, cosmetic products, food products. It's basically everywhere.
So if me as a person, as a consumer, I want to be a little greener about the things that I do, let's be honest, right? And it's okay if you say something that typically, people would not expect. Can I be more sustainable on these fronts, or is this just like an idealistic dream for me to kind of hope towards?
I feel, there's a good shift now. It starts from the consumer themselves. If you, segregate properly, and, if the product goes to the right recycler, yes, there can be, a good change. So as an individual, yes, we can, make sure that the right item goes to the right recycler. But, there are certain, shortcomings in the way the whole industry approaches the plastic recycling problem. So, yes, I think I'm optimistic about that.
Super. Rahul, firstly, with Ricron Panels and what you guys are trying to do, all that, multi-layer plastic that I use on a daily basis, or even, for example, like a single-layered plastic bag, right? You convert into these usable things that kids and a lot of other people out there can actually use into construction materials, into toilets and things like that. So what I wanted to ask you is, while approaching this entire gamut of dealing with this problem in an effective way, what are some of those massive hurdles that you face specifically from an India perspective, and where are we kind of lacking from an India perspective today? I'd love to get your insights on that.
Right. So I think, one of the biggest challenges, of being in this space is, procurement. So end of the day, we're a manufacturing company, and whatever scrap we consume is raw material for us. And unfortunately, in India, things are still, a bit unorganized. The trader community is not either aware or they don't have the means for the collection. Supply chain systems don't exist to that extent, and there is not good transparency in terms of what buying and selling can happen. So I think we're largely unorganized in that space. But the good fact is we have such fantastic human resource available that if there's some value, there's I'm sure somebody would collect it, and it's only with time that we'll have an ecosystem around it. So I'm hopeful things will come by.
We've set a lot of sustainable goals as a country, right? And of course, let's be honest, it's not just us as India, but a lot of countries around the world who are lagging behind on those goals quite a bit. This is just one of the ways that kind of aids us into speeding up towards reaching that actual goal. What I would love to get from you is your message, and you started this by saying you're hopeful, to say the least. Your message to the whole population kind of listening in to this, to kind of, let's just say, take a small step towards a more sustainable future, what would that be?
I think the key here is awareness. As a consumer, we need to be aware. Whatever we consume, after we throw it, after we discard it, what happens to that? Just the mere thought of what is going to happen is sometimes enough for us to take the right call. So I think it starts with awareness, and I think the best way is to talk to the young generation. And if we can get this on early, we can have a fantastic change in the coming years.
What I'm really curious to know is, you set up Ricron Panels all the way back in when 2014, was that right? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, late 2014, early 15. Yeah.
So from that period, it's been quite a journey, I'm sure. But I'm sure there have been some great stories which have really made you feel like what you've been doing is really worthwhile. Tell me some of those stories, man. I'm itching to hear them.
Yeah, when we started off, we were not obviously looking for big clients. We were always looking for customers who would think about it, of what we were offering. And more often than not, we ended up with small end users. And I remember, there was this one fruit cart seller. I mean, we're in an industrial zone, so you find a lot of these fruit cart vendors. And this one fruit cart vendor, we supplied some boards to him, and he made basically a cart where he had shelves and all that. And just the mere value we could pass on in terms of a product that met his budget, and at the same time him being part of this whole initiative that I'm using something sustainable, and something customers would appreciate and he would appreciate. So the value we generated, not just commercially but socially also, we felt that if we continue on this path, there's so much that can be done. And that was an indicator that if the most basic people from our socioeconomic structure can like it, can appreciate it, then why not take it up at a much larger scale?
I think it's very rare, especially in the young, like you were saying, in today's day and age. Everyone wants to, let's do a startup. Let's do a startup. That's usually the attitude that kind of comes about. Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, but when you realize the work that goes into it, it's a little, let's just say, daunting, to say the least. But going in the direction of a sustainable startup, I think is just unbelievable in so many ways. And I mean that in a positive sense. Imagine if all those entrepreneurs and those young kids I just kind of referred to move in the direction of a sustainable startup. Where would we be as a country? Don't you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, we have so much of potential, and like you're from Bangalore, and I'm sure a lot of audience are listening to this. At the tech scene in India is right up there, and the kind of talent we have. And now I see a lot of people, moving from tech and software into brick and mortar, businesses, more towards sustainability. I myself, my first business was a tech startup based in Gurgaon back in the days. But it teaches you so much when you're part of something which is very competitive globally. So you tend to bring that ethic into whatever you do next. And if your motivation is social development or sustainability, then I'm sure you would find so many ways to bring, change, positive change.
I hope that people can take a little bit of inspiration from what you just said. Rahul Chaudhary is the director of a beautiful company called Ricron Panels. Look them up online. There's some beautiful stuff and the things that they've done are all online. Rahul, the idea of doing this is to, of course, get your story out to a much larger, base, of course, but also to show that, hey, if you want to do, like, say, get into the startup space, you want to be an entrepreneur, building a sustainable startup is not just beneficial for you, it's beneficial for the entire country and the planet at large. And I think, you're walking the talk in such a large way, and it's great to have you on the show to kind of tell your story. Thank you so much, man.
It's a pleasure, Kate. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, then subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss out on more content.